I have a hypothetical scenario for you today.
Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine you have roughly $250,000 US just burning a hole in your pocket. It is sitting there, and you need a new set of wheels. Where does your brain go?
Well, the financial advisor in me says buy a used hatchback and invest the rest.
Right, but we aren't being sensible today.
Fair enough. If we're talking that kind of cash, you are firmly in supercar territory. I'm thinking a Ferrari Raymer, maybe a heavily optioned Bentley Bentayga. You want speed, exotic materials, and something that absolutely screams, I have arrived.
Exactly. You want heads to turn. You want an engine that sounds like an absolute thunderstorm.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that right now there is a literal waiting list of people lining up to spend upwards of $270,000 on, and I'm not joking, a minivan?
I know exactly where you're going with this. You are talking about the Lexus LM.
The Lexus LM, the luxury mover. I mean, even the name sounds like a high-end moving company.
It really does.
But it's a minivan, a massive box on wheels. And our mission today for this deep dive is to figure out why this thing exists. Why does it cost as much as a house in some parts of the world? Is it stroke of engineering genius? Or is it just clever marketing for the ultra-wealthy?
It's a fascinating vehicle because it forces us to completely redefine what luxury actually means right now. Is luxury about a blistering 0 to 60 time? Or is it about how low your resting heart rate is when you finally arrive at your destination?
That's a great way to put it.
But before we even pop the hood on the van itself, we really have to look at the context of Lexus as a brand. Because usually you picture a Lexus dealer in the suburbs full of nice, quiet, very sensible hybrids.
Yeah, the cars your dentist drives.
Exactly. But when Lexus decides to get weird, they get really, really weird.
Oh, I fell down a massive rabbit hole looking into this. Their track record for weird luxury is basically an engineering fever dream. You expect leather interiors, and then you find out they built a yacht.
The LY 650. And the crucial thing there is it wasn't just a PR stunt where they slapped a Lexus badge on a generic boat. They worked with marquee yachts, sure, but they used their own distinct design language. It's a 65-foot yacht with 2,700 horsepower.
Good grief.
Yeah, twin Volvo Penta IPS engines. It holds over 1,000 gallons of diesel fuel.
So definitely not a Prius on water.
Definitely not a hybrid. It was a massive flex. They wanted to prove they are a lifestyle brand. They wanted to show they can engineer luxury on the ocean just as well as they do on asphalt.
And if a boat wasn't enough, there was the hoverboard. I remember seeing videos of this years ago, and I legitimately thought it was CGI. It looked like the prop from Back to the Future.
The SLDE project. And that was real functional engineering. They used magnetic levitation. It had superconductors inside that literally had to be cooled by liquid to nitrogen.
Which explains the smoke coming off it in the videos.
Right. It actually floated. Now, it wasn't practical. You couldn't ride it down the sidewalk because it required a very specific magnetic track buried underneath the surface. But it showed they were willing to throw just absurd amounts of R&D money at a project simply to say, look what our engineers can do.
We can't forget the bicycle either.
Yes, the LFA road bike. $11,000 for a bicycle.
Which is insane.
It is, but they wove it from the exact same carbon fiber reinforced plastic loom that they used to manufacture the LFA supercar.
See, that context is so important. Once you realize this is a company absolutely obsessed with material science and over-engineering things just to prove a point, a $250,000 minivan feels slightly less insane. It fits right into this lineage of weird luxury.
Precisely. It sets the stage perfectly. So the real question is the Lexus LM just a Toyota minivan wearing a very expensive tuxedo? Or is it genuinely the LFA of minivans?
Well, let's start with the visuals. If you haven't seen the LM, you really need to pull up a picture right now. It is incredibly distinct. One review I read described it as a chrome brick.
A chrome brick is a brutally accurate description. It heavily features what Lexus calls their spindle body design philosophy. You know how traditionally a car grille is a separate piece of plastic or metal attached to the front bumper?
Yeah.
Well, on the LM, the grille basically is the front of the body. It fades seamlessly into the bonnet. It creates this massive, solid wall of presence. Lexus marketing calls it dignified elegance.
Dignified elegance? That really just feels like corporate speak for we made it huge and shiny.
Pretty much. And it is huge. It's over 5.1 meters long, 5,125 millimeters to be precise.
It's a behemoth. But the dimension that really stood out, especially looking at real-world feedback from owners in places like Singapore,
is the height.
Yes, it is nearly 2 meters tall, 1,955 millimeters.
Which sounds great for headroom.
Oh, the headroom is fantastic. But practically, it is a nightmare for older parking structures. A lot of car parks in Asia and Europe have a strict height restriction of 1.9 meters. Just imagine that scenario. You pay $500,000, which is roughly the price in Singapore because of their tax structure, and you physically cannot park at your own office building because you'll rip the roof off your luxury van.
It's a genuine problem for owners, but that boxy shape is completely non-negotiable. Form strictly follows function here. It's designed to be a monolith, and they paint it in these very complex finishes with names like Sonic Titanium and Sonic Agate.
Sonic Agate sounds like a superhero, but let's be honest. Nobody's buying a minivan because it looks sexy on the outside. You buy it for the interior. And this is where the LM splits into two drastically different vehicles. You have a 7-seater version, and then you have the 4-seater.
The ultra-luxury configuration. The 4-seater is the headline act. This is the trim that is commanding those crazy supercar prices.
So break this down for us. They take this massive van, delete the entire third row of seats, and just push the second row all the way to the back.
Essentially, yes. They turn the back of the van into a cavernous suite for just 2 human beings. But the defining feature, the absolute centerpiece, is the partition wall. There is a floor-to-ceiling physical wall separating the driver from the rear passenger.
Like a traditional limousine.
Exactly. It has a glass panel that you can dim or make completely opaque with the touch of a button.
Instant privacy. You can see the driver, but the driver cannot see you. But that wall isn't just for privacy, is it? It's holding something that sounds completely ridiculous for a car.
It houses a 48-inch high-definition widescreen monitor.
48 inches. That is absurd. That is larger than the television in my living room, and it is mounted about 2 feet from your face.
It is incredibly wide, and it's designed for dual utility. You can use the whole thing as a massive panoramic movie theater, or you can split the screen right down the middle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the executive on the left can be on a Zoom call running through a presentation while the person on the right is watching Netflix. And they have independent audio zones using custom headsets.
And right below that screen, they've packed in a refrigerator, dedicated umbrella storage, massive glove boxes. It's mimicking a first-class airline suite.
But the seats are where the real engineering money went. Calling them captain's chairs is frankly an insult.
Right, they look like recliners from a high-end cinema.
They are fully reclining ottoman seats. They go almost completely horizontal. But the technical brilliance is in the posture alignment. They are specifically engineered to hold your body in a neutral posture.
Neutral posture.
Yeah, it minimizes the muscle usage required to just sit there, which drastically reduces fatigue on long journeys. And of course, they have heated armrests and heated ottomans.
I saw someone call it a feature to warm your tootsies.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
Highly technical jargon. But the system that controls all this heating and cooling is called the climate concierge. And this is a perfect example of that Lexus over-engineering. It doesn't just blow hot or cold air based on a dial. It literally uses infrared sensors hidden in the cabin.
Wait, it's scanning you?
Constantly. It actively scans the surface temperature of your body. It knows if your feet are cold, but your face is warm. It then micro-adjusts the individual climate zones, the seat heaters, and the ventilation to bring your specific body to perfect thermal equilibrium.
That right there is the difference between premium and luxury. Premium means you get a nice button to turn on the heater. Luxury means the car knows you're chilly before you even realize it.
Exactly. It's proactive, not reactive. And this whole setup, the wall, the screen, the VIP seats, it sends a very clear, very loud message. The 7-seater is for a wealthy family. The 4-seater says, I do not drive, I am driven.
Okay, but somebody has to drive it. And the car still has to interact with the physical road.
Yeah.
This is where my skepticism kicks in. Because historically, vans drive like vans. They are bouncy, they are loud, they echo. How do they solve that physics problem?
This is actually the single most important technical detail when you compare the LM to its rivals. Most luxury vans out there, like the Mercedes V-Class, are derived straight from commercial vehicles. The V-Class is fundamentally a Mercedes Vito delivery van wearing nicer leather.
So it's basically a cargo truck dressed in a tuxedo.
That's a great way to put it. It uses a ladder frame or a commercial unibody designed to carry heavy pallets of cargo. And you absolutely feel that stiffness in the ride quality. The Lexus LM is completely different. It is built on the GAK platform.
Unpack that. What exactly is GAK?
GAK is Toyota and Lexus's global modular unibody platform for passenger cars. It is the exact same underlying architecture used for the Lexus RX SUV, the ES sedan, and even the Toyota Camry.
Oh, wow. So the fundamental DNA of this van is a car, not a truck.
Correct. It was designed from day one for ride comfort, low center of gravity, and torsional rigidity, not for hauling cement. And because it has car DNA, Lexus can install suspension technology that commercial vans simply cannot accommodate.
Like what?
Two major things. First is a specific drive mode called rear comfort mode.
Does that just numb the throttle so the driver can't accelerate too fast?
It does soften the throttle and shift the suspension bias, but the real magic is in the braking. You know that annoying feeling when a car comes to a stop, the nose dives down, and then when the car finally stops moving, your head jerks backward?
The head toss.
Yeah.
It's the worst if you're trying to read a screen or drink coffee.
Rear comfort mode actively uses the adaptive suspension and manages the brake feathering to counteract that forward pitch. It keeps the cabin completely flat during deceleration. It fights the head toss.
That is brilliant. That pitch movement is exactly what causes motion sickness.
Exactly. And paired with that, they introduced something called frequency-sensitive valves in the shock absorbers. This is a world first for Lexus.
Okay, frequency-sensitive valves sounds incredibly fancy. What does it actually do for the guy sitting in the back?
Think about the road surface as a series of waves. A large pothole or a speed bump is a low-frequency, high-amplitude wave. Rough pavement, like worn-out asphalt, is a high-frequency microvibration.
Right.
Usually a suspension system has to compromise. If you tune it to handle big bumps well, it transmits the annoying high-frequency buzz into the cabin. These new valves mechanically adjust inside the damper instantly. They swallow the big bumps, but they also filter out that high-frequency road buzz that exhausts you on a long highway trip.
So it just floats over everything.
It isolates you. That's the best word for it. Physically isolates the cabin from the environment.
But total isolation usually means heavy acoustic glass, heavy seats, heavy tech. Weight requires power.
So let's talk about what is under the hood. For $270,000, am I getting a silky, smooth V12, a twin-turbo V8?
Well, this is where the madness argument starts to look pretty valid. There are two powertrains available. The volume seller, the base model essentially, is the LM350i.
Which is what exactly?
It is a 2.5-liter, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder hybrid. Wait, really? A 4-cylinder engine pulling a 2.3-ton luxury Vault? That sounds severely underpowered.
It produces a combined output of about 247 horsepower. And if you look at the data and the real-world testing, it is slow. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour takes roughly 9 seconds.
9 seconds is an absolute eternity in the luxury segment. A base model electric hatchback would completely leave it for dead at a stoplight. Plus, it's a Toyota hybrid system, so it uses a CVT transmission, right?
It does, and that is the real sticking point. If your driver needs to merge aggressively onto a highway, they stomp the gas, and that 4-cylinder engine just revs up to high RPMs and stays there. You get that infamous CVT drone.
Oh, I hate that sound.
Right, and hearing a strained 4-cylinder engine whining while you're sitting in your Emperor suite completely shatters the illusion of effortless luxury.
That would be a deal breaker for me. If I am paying supercar money, I do not want to hear a vacuum cleaner struggling up a hill.
Which is exactly why you have to upgrade to the LM500hour. That is the top-tier spec. It replaces that engine with a 2.4-liter turbocharged hybrid setup using their direct 4 all-wheel drive system.
Turbocharged sounds much better. What are the stats on the 500 hours?
You're jumping up to around 366 to 371 horsepower, depending on your local market emissions tuning. The 0 to 100 time drops to 6.9 seconds.
Okay, 6.9 is much more respectable. That feels like appropriate luxury car momentum.
And crucially, the 500 drops the CVT and uses a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission, so it actually shifts through gears. The power delivery feels significantly more muscular and natural. It actually matches the price tag.
Speaking of that price tag, we threw out that 270 grand number at the beginning. But the economics of this vehicle globally are absolutely wild.
They are all over the place. In the UK market, the base model starts around £90,000 and goes up to about $113,000, which is expensive, but it's standard luxury SUV territory. In Australia, a fully loaded model hits about 220,000 Aussie dollars.
And then there is Singapore.
Singapore is a unique beast. Because of their strict certificate of entitlement system and heavy taxation on vehicles, an LM there will cost you well over 500,000 Singapore dollars.
Over $500,000 for a minivan. But the market dynamic I find most fascinating is the United States, because officially, you cannot walk into a Lexus dealer in California and buy one.
Correct. Lexus USA has taken a very firm stance on this. They fundamentally believe the US is an SUV market. They sell the massive LX600. They just introduced the TX. They simply do not believe Americans will buy a minivan, no matter how luxurious it is.
Because minivan is a dirty word here. It screams soccer practice, not Fortune 500 CEO.
Exactly. But the actual free market is proving them wrong right now.
Absolutely. The gray market for these things is exploding.
It is a massive gray market phenomenon. Independent importers are navigating the legal loopholes to bring these vans into places like Los Angeles. And because it is forbidden fruit and the supply is virtually zero, the markups are astronomical. That is where you are seeing actual listings for $258,000 to $270,000 US dollars.
That is the ultimate flex.
Yeah.
You are willingly paying double, maybe triple the actual MSRP of the vehicle just to have a car that literally no one else in your neighborhood can get.
But there is a very specific use case for it. Think about high-profile individuals, celebrities, tech billionaires. If you drive down Rodeo Drive in a Rolls-Royce Phantom or a neon green Lamborghini, everybody stares at you. It screams wealth.
It puts a massive target on your back.
Exactly. But the Lexus LM, to 99% of people on the street, it is just a raw-looking van. It offers total anonymity. But the moment you step inside, you have significantly more space, better technology, and better comfort than that Rolls-Royce. It is the absolute peak of stealth wealth.
I get the stealth wealth angle. I really do. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. If I just want a stealthy, fancy van to be driven around in, why shouldn't I just buy the Mercedes V-Class? Or even better, the Toyota Alphard, which is literally the LM's corporate sibling.
We touched on the V-Class earlier. It fundamentally loses on ride quality because of its cargo van roots. It's stiffer, it bounces over bumps, but the Toyota Alphard is the real elephant in the room. It shares the exact same GAK platform and the same basic body shell as the Lexus.
So the Lexus is really just a shiny Alphard.
Structurally, yes. And if you look at the raw data, the Alphard gives you about 80% of the luxury experience for significantly less money. But that final 20% is where the extreme cost of the LM comes in. It's the invisible engineering, specifically the sound deadening.
The silence.
The silence is deafening. The LM has advanced active noise control. It uses acoustic glass all around. They pack significantly more high-density insulation into the floorboards and the pillars. It is measurably quieter inside than the Alphard, and generally the Alphard does not offer that solid partition wall or the 48-inch screen as standard. Those are Lexus exclusives.
So you are basically paying a $100,000 premium for absolute silence and a really big TV.
And the badge. Do not underestimate the power of the badge. In Asian markets, pulling up in a vehicle with the Lexus logo carries immense prestige. It is considered more prestigious than a traditional stretch limo.
All right, let's bring this all together. We need a final verdict. We've gone through the weird history, the obsessive engineering, the ridiculous pricing. What are the genuine pros and the brutally honest cons of the Lexus LM?
Let's start with the pros. Unmatched rear seat isolation, full stop. If your primary goal is to sleep, work, or run a meeting while stuck in brutal city traffic, this van beats a Bentley or a Maybach sedan simply because of the ergonomics. You can lay completely flat.
The space is unbeatable.
Right. Plus, the concept of omotenashi, that deep Japanese hospitality. Features like the perfectly calibrated massage seats and the 23-speaker Mark Levinson sound system are genuinely world-class. It is a rolling sanctuary.
Okay, what about the cons?
The driver experience is completely numb. You are the hired help in this scenario. If you are buying an LM to drive it yourself, you have fundamentally misunderstood what the vehicle is for.
It's not a driver's car.
Not at all. Secondly, the performance of the base 350R hybrid is genuinely lackluster for a vehicle in this price bracket. But the funniest con, and I specifically saved this for last, is the practicality of the trunk.
Oh, I read about this. It's a massive minivan, but it has no trunk.
In the four-seater configuration, because those incredible ottoman seats are so large, and because they need room to recline completely flat, they consume almost the entire rear cargo area. You are left with about 200 liters of space in the very back.
200 liters. That is tiny. That's what, a couple briefcases?
If you stack them very creatively, you might fit 2 golf bags, but you certainly cannot fit a week's worth of hard-shell luggage for 2 people heading to the airport.
That is hilariously ironic. The ultimate luxury road trip vehicle basically requires you to hire a second, cheaper van just to follow behind you carrying your suitcases.
Or you just learn to travel very, very light. But it perfectly highlights the entire philosophy behind the engineering. The passenger's physical comfort is the absolute only metric that matters. Everything else, including luggage space, is secondary.
So, final question. Is it pure genius or is it total madness?
It is genius, but it is a very specific, localized genius. If you live in a megacity, Tokyo, Shanghai, or navigating the 405 in Los Angeles, raw speed is completely irrelevant. A Ferrari is useless in bumper-to-bumper gridlock. It's just noisy and frustrating. The Lexus LM gives you the one thing that money usually cannot buy: time.
It turns a wasted hour in a traffic jam into an hour of productive work or deep rest.
Precisely. It reclaims your time.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought that really struck me while we were breaking all this down. We live in a car culture that has historically been obsessed with the ultimate driving machine. We worship horsepower, steering feedback, cornering grip. But as global traffic gets worse, and as autonomous driving technology inches closer to reality, is the Lexus LM actually the true blueprint for the future of luxury?
It is a very compelling argument. We have always considered something like the Rolls-Royce Phantom as the absolute peak of combustion luxury, largely because of that massive V12 engine up front. But maybe the Lexus LM is the Rolls-Royce of the upcoming electric and hybrid era, not because of its powertrain, because the engine here is frankly irrelevant, but because it redefines luxury by prioritizing silence over cylinders. It measures luxury by what you don't feel and what you don't hear.
Silence over cylinders. I really like that. It's a brave new automotive world out there. Though I have to admit, for $270,000, I think I would still miss the rumble of a V8. Just a little bit.
Maybe just a little. But lying flat with a heated ottoman, you would be very, very comfortable while you missed it.
Very true. Well, that is all for this deep dive into the weird, wonderful, and wildly expensive world of the Lexus LM. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.